Hey friends, welcome back to She's At It Again. It is a cold, snowy day here in central Arkansas, but I have a recipe to share with you, and I've been waiting for a while for just the right day to share this. I think you're going to like this. This is buttermilk syrup. If you are a fan of maple syrup on your pancakes, I totally get it. I am too. But when I tried this was almost a deal breaker for me because it's so incredibly good, but with such few ingredients, nothing artificial, it's all natural. But yes, there's sugar in it, but you don't even have to add butter to your pancakes when you pour this syrup on it because the butter's already in it. It's so good. So let's go, and I'm going to show you exactly how to make it. Okay, we're over here at the stovetop, and like I said, this has so few ingredients in it, but it's so incredibly good. And I'll tell you the story about how I discovered this and why I'm such a big fan of it too once we get going. But first thing we want to do is we're going to take, let's see, we'll put our sugar in there. I just turned my burner on, so my pan's just getting warmed up. Taking a cup of sugar. I know that's a lot of sugar. Actually, I'm having this recipe, so most recipes that you'll find for buttermilk syrup will call for 2 cups of sugar right off the bat. So we're just making half the amount, so 1 cup of sugar. You can see that my sugar is a little beige because it is raw sugar. It's not bleached white sugar. And if bleached kind of sounds scary, it is. That's why I used unbleached raw sugar. We're also going to use a half cup of buttermilk. And buttermilk, if you are unfamiliar with it, is simply what is left after you take heavy cream and shake it up to use butter. It's just what's left over. So nothing fancy. It's really not, it doesn't really come out this thick when you just make it from making butter. I'm going to turn this camera around just a little bit so you can get a better view of this. But they add things to it to make it thick because buttermilk just sounds like it should be something thick. So we'll let them go with that. But if you want to make your own buttermilk and you don't have any, if you'll take heavy cream, put it in a jar, shake it a lot, the butter will collect, all the fat globules will collect, and you can pull that out, and what's left in there is buttermilk. We're also going to use a half cup of butter, which is 1 stick of butter, and I use unsalted butter. So one of the reasons I'm such a big fan of this is because generally when anybody comes to eat with us, I get out the things that we always eat. It's normally a healthy alternative to a lot of things that you would find in other places. I'm not going to hold back on getting out my organic potato chips just because there's people here. They're going to eat organic potato chips too, whether they like them or not, because that's what I buy. And the same way with when I fix breakfast. If we have guests, I get out the maple syrup. Well, some people are not familiar with maple syrup, and when I say that, I mean they're not familiar with how expensive it is. Maple syrup is not a cheap product at all. No matter who you talk to, they're not going to say maple syrup's cheap. So we sit down to eat breakfast one time. We had guests invited over. One of the guests we had just met, they got invited by somebody else to our house because we had an extra room. And we sat down to eat breakfast, and we start passing the pancakes and the sausage and the syrup and the bacon and the stuff around. And this person, being unfamiliar apparently with maple syrup, just started pouring it on like it was milk on cereal. And my eyes got really big, and I thought I was going to pass out and fall away from the table. But instead, I just was like, you know what? There's got to be a better alternative to this. So I started doing some research on what you could use that was as good as maple syrup, but yet wasn't so cost prohibitive. And this was the recipe that I found. And I'm not sure exactly where I found it, but there is a local restaurant in our town that serves pancakes and serves buttermilk syrup, and people just go on and on about it, which I think is so cute because they've discovered how wonderful it is too, and you don't have to serve maple syrup with it. So anyway, when we have guests over, sometimes I get out the maple syrup, but I will always have the buttermilk syrup on the table, and nobody ever says, "Ew, I don't like this. I just want something else." Now they'll say, "Don't you have any just plain pancake syrup?" Well, this is plain pancake syrup. But the beautiful thing about it is, to me, is that the butter's already in there. So normally you would put butter on your pancakes and then you put syrup on your pancakes or honey or whatever you use. But it's already in there. So you just warm this up, pour it on the warm pancakes, and it's so delightful. Now, as soon as I get finished with this video, I'm going to turn right around and I'm going to make pancakes on the griddle, and that'll be the next video. And because it's snowing today, we're making pancakes, but they're not for us. They're for our neighbor that lives by himself. So I thought he'd get a kick out of getting a package of warm buttermilk syrup and some sausage and pancakes already made. So all he has to do is just heat them up. So we're going to bring this to a boil, and we're going to boil it for 1 minute. Our mixture is starting to boil, so we're going to time this. Sorry, let it boil for 1 minute. Okay, our minute has passed. We're just going to turn the burner off. Let it stay there. Whisk it just a bit. Now, if you'll notice, I had such a few ingredients in there and so little of it, but it's in such a big pan. Now, you're probably thinking, why did you use such a big pan? Well, because this is going to foam up when I put the next two ingredients in there. We're going to go with a half teaspoon of vanilla. This is my homemade vanilla extract. I'm just going to put this around the edge. And then a half teaspoon of baking soda. And you can see that's already bubbling up in there. Sprinkle that on. And with our whisk, we'll stir it. You see how much it's foaming up in there? I'm hoping you can see that from here. That's just the chemical reaction, I guess, but it does foam up. It's going to take up a lot more space than what just your liquid mixture is. So just know you need to use a bigger pan than what you think you're going to need. We're going to remove this from the burner, and we're done with our buttermilk syrup. So, seriously, that's all there is to it. So, the next video is going to be for pancakes, but for now, you get your buttermilk syrup made, you get it ready, and then when you get ready to make pancakes, you'll have this available for you. I'm going to put this in a jar and get it ready to send over to our neighbor's house as soon as the pancakes and sausage are done. But thanks for joining us. The recipe is in the description of this video, and we look forward to sharing something again with you real soon. Bye, guys.